How's it going, guys? Chris here. So, I finally got everything working. I upgraded to Windows 10 and it gave me a hell of a problem trying to get everything running. I spent like 40 minutes just trying to figure out what was wrong. Anyway, finally fixed the stupid crap. I'm not very happy about it, but I wanted to talk just because I haven't been on this channel in a long time. I want to talk a little bit about what I've been doing. So I've been playing Diablo. I've been in season, I don't know, it's patch 2.3 anyway. I've been enjoying myself a lot. I've been playing the shenlongs setup, which is the new variant of the Juliana set for the monk. Even though Julianas can still top leaderboards, they can still do a lot. I did happen to... This is basically like my best gear set as well, and my highest gems, so this is basically why I've been playing it as much as I have. I do enjoy Julianas. I'm very squishy. I'm missing a lot of stacking res, which is important as I go over this build, this setup. I have the Kanais here because I didn't want to forget to talk about it actually, because there has been some changes to what people have been putting in the Kanais and how people have been setting themselves up. I personally still like the Eye of the Storm setup. But you got Flying Dragon, doubles your attack speed when you're hitting. Eye of Peshkov reduces the Breath of Heaven cooldown. That's really important because you want to be maintaining this as much as possible to be getting the 14 additional spirit from each hit. Then Unity, I've been using it for extra tankiness. I'm using the Enchantress Follower. I just have her with T-Fury. The slow is really good. It helps proc Bane of the Trapped if you're using it. She has the Unity. S of Johan is really good to help pull allies or pull enemies in, not allies. And then I just have a Leorix on here. I can't actually remember why. I don't think I have another. I don't know. Oh, I have a Bolcathos Wedding Band somewhere. Okay, so to go over the build a little bit, it centers around this skill right here called Static Charge. What it does is you apply a debuff to the enemy, and when you're hitting them, it does like lightning between all the enemies you've hit. So it makes a really big deal, because if you apply this to a bunch of enemies and use Wave 100 Fist of Fury is the one that everyone's using right now. It's got by far the highest proc coefficient, so that's why people are using it. And then I've also been running... I'm not going to use Epiphany in this video, because this wasn't what I used. I've just been testing it out. I forgot to change it. I used Serenity with Ascension, because the 4-second invuln is awesome. It actually helps so much. Epiphany is far better against some mobs, but Serenity is also amazing against some mobs. So I'll go over this a bit. So on your helmet you want... if you're using Eye of the Storm, you want crit chance, you want dex. Some people are using socket for the fight, or for the percent life, other people aren't. And then you want max spirit as your secondary, because each point of spirit increases your damage because of the shenlongs. It's 1.5% for each point of spirit you have. Then shoulders, ideally you want like stacking resistance in the secondary, and then you want, I think it's dex, vite, percent life, and then armor, maybe. You can use like armor, regen life, even some CDR to help maintain this a little bit more, get this on a lower cooldown. This is basically what you want: crit chance, crit damage, dex, and vite. Then you want to focus on restraint. So what I did, I'm running a variation. So normally you'd have attack speed on one of your rings, but instead I'm using Pain Enhancer. This is what I used to down the 64, and that's currently where I'm sitting. I do expect there to be changes, because right now my gear isn't perfect. My boots are good. I got an upgrade. My depth diggers are also really good. String of Vegas isn't that amazing. So I tried reduce elite damage, but percent life is far better. And then my shenlongs, I'm pretty sad I ruined this shenlongs because I was still new to gearing this setup. Basically, I had the socket on already, so instead I rolled the vite off for percent damage, and then I found out that you want dex, vite, and life per hit on your weapons, plus max spirit on your secondary. So this one is good. It still has about another 100 to go, so around like 2800 is going to be almost a max roll. And I'm using Simplicity of Strength. This has increased the damage of primaries, which is really good. Stricken has just been one of those absolutely amazing gems that came out this season. Everyone's like, wow, gotta include that in everything. I'm using Pain Enhancer. And yes, that is the gear, and I've been talking about that for a bit. But now my next point is I want to talk a little bit. So I did down the 64, but I want to go into a low Greater Rift, hopefully not die a lot, and then make myself look like an idiot. I want to talk, just because the Shenlong set has been one that when I'm doing lower difficulties, I usually have more trouble progressing than I do in others. So what you want to be doing is you want to be creating as much density as you can. So I'm not going to stop to kill these 3 guys because, well, there's only 3 guys. So instead I'm just going to run by them here. And now I'm going to tag these guys with Fist of Thunder. I'm going to keep running a bit. Hopefully they follow me. And I'm going to activate Breath of Heaven. There's a bunch of things you want to maintain with the setup, being your Dashing Strike Radiance and your Breath of Heaven if you can. Now that my shenlongs is up, I'm probably going to be pulling a little bit more. Hopefully not die to the demonic forge. So you want to go from mob to mob. You want to apply Fist of Thunder, and then you want a Fist of Fury. In this lower Greater Rift, I don't think I'll need to use Fist of Fury that much. Basically, you're looking like when you're fishing for rifts, you're looking for very high density rifts, which isn't always possible to find, of course, but if you can find them, it makes doing rifts like 1,000 times easier. Okay. And then one of the things I'll show after this is I'm using just my mouse wheel to move. I saw it a while ago, actually. I was always wondering how it was done, because I know people use macros for repeated mouse clicking, but normally these shadows of death, like the Exorcist, those mobs would be like an instant reset on higher difficulties. At least that's what I found, because I seem to die to them a lot. Also, you want to keep your spirit up as much as possible, but the one thing you'll start to notice as soon as you get to playing around with this set is moving from mob to mob to mob. You're almost never going to have max spirit continually, but you probably will for at least a little while. Once Breath of Heaven plus Frying Dragon proc, you're usually pretty well off. So basically you're looking to go from the high density areas to high density areas. So I keep blinking. I'm trying to maintain my spirit as much as I can while I'm blinking in between enemies. And any enemy that has a knockback effect, I've noticed I've had a lot of trouble not dying to. Also keep in mind, activating your potion has an odd... it interacts strangely with what this setup does, because it gets rid of your Flying Dragon proc along with your Shenlongs proc. So you're going to be losing a lot of damage every time you need to potion up, unless you're basically sitting at max spirit, in which case you might be okay for a bit. But it's something worth keeping in mind. I'm going to clear a few of these mobs, and then, okay. With Yuliana set, it was a little bit easier to create density. Power pylon, I'll just grab it right away. Sometimes if you're fishing for good rifts and you find a power pylon, you might just want to set up the boss around the power pylon, but that's not always a possibility. Oh, I never talked about, one thing I never talked about is the reason that you use, I was going over the items, but I never mentioned this. The reason that you're using the Crashing Wave set, I believe, the Dashing Strike set, is that way you can proc your spirit, because you need a spirit spender, but you don't want to be using anything else in your bar, because you want to be maintaining as much as... Like, basically the stuff you have on your bar is usually not quite vital, but it's relatively necessary. There obviously is some stuff that you can change out. Like, when you're doing higher level greater rifts, you're not going to need the defensive mantra, because you'll have a healer monk with you. As you can see, these mobs are just like melting, and the best part is you can just like pop Epiphany if you're fighting a mob inside of a molten, you can just keep fighting them. Helps out a lot. Yeah, basically, spots like this you want to stop at to clear the density. One thing to keep in mind, though, is enemies that spawn, like, unlimited skeletons and stuff, they don't give the progression after you've killed the initial... I believe it's the initial wave, so something worth keeping in mind. I've been playing for this season, actually, because last season I did upload a video talking about what I've been doing and what class I've been playing. So I played Barb last season. That was sort of the thing that I was enjoying a lot. They are fun. This season, just the leaderboard setup that they have, I was looking at it, the Whirlwind set isn't quite as amazing anymore. The Hammer of Ancients set also got pushed out of top spot, which is another thing I wasn't very happy about. It got pushed out by a strange, like, combination of charge plus rend on the IK set. Now, I'm not entirely certain how it works because I don't know anything about barbs this season, but yeah. This is actually a pretty good room. I almost interrupted my last train of thought because I was looking to talk about pylons and which ones are good and bad to find. So since you do have focus and restraint, conduit is like that god pylon that you're always looking for. So once you find a conduit, you're usually going to get a huge amount of the rift done in an instant. But if you don't have... I think almost all setups now are using focus and restraint. It's really hard to find one that isn't. The Vires, I think, is the only one that isn't. But yeah. So, but the CDR pylon isn't one that you're necessarily looking for with this setup, because it makes it so that way your dashing strike doesn't use any spirit, it only uses the charges. Which means that you're no longer spending any spirit to enable your focus and restrain from proccing, which means you're losing a lot of damage. Yeah, so you basically, like, to reiterate, because it does make a big difference, when you're on really high level Great Earths, you'll realize this a lot more. You're basically looking to mob of the enemies as much as you possibly can, so you can create the density so your static charge can proc faster. And that goes the same for bosses. When you're fishing for that like perfect boss and you're trying to find out who you want to kill, you excuse me. Usually bosses with ads are ideal, because then you can bounce your static charge off them. An enemy like this, I killed him pretty quick. The Mega Brood, he can spawn all the little broods, which is pretty good for killing off a large amount of elites. Okay. My character's like stuck. I'm not even lagging. One thing you'll notice with this season especially is lag has been a big issue that every single... Like if you watch any D3 streamers, you watch anybody that pushes leaderboards, they all complain about it a lot. Because the server can't keep up with some of the damage calculations going on the screen, so instead of just like the game does crash a fair bit when you're in 4-mans now, but it doesn't always crash. Yeah, a lot of people just complain about it because the server can't keep up with the amount of damage calculations going on the screen at once. As you can see, the bigger mobs are like just super easy to plow through. Also, I really hate this map setup. There is a chance that we could just run to a complete dead end, and I will be really sad. The other class I've been playing, I actually have a Demon Hunter that's got some pretty good gear. His weapon still sucks. I'm using the multi-shot set, which is my favorite set from last season. On top of the multi-shot setup, I also have a Virus Wizard that I'm 2 pieces of gear from finishing. The Swami plus the belt that they need, which actually make a very big difference. I don't have either of those, so I was farming for a while trying to figure out if I can get either of those, basically. I still don't think they exist. Okay. Yeah, as long as you have enough stacking resistance, and usually the stacking resistance you're also going for is physical. That was the main thing that I forgot to mention, because you can get any stacking resistance. It will contribute with harmony to all of your stacking or to all of your resistances. But physical is just the best because you're going to be taking mostly physical damage. I can only hope these two guys give me the completion. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is actually a good boss. This is the one I got for my 64. She's only good for the first little while, though. Or I think it's actually after about 70% she starts spawning the ads. Not really sure. She has these little spiders that she spawns. Also notice I am still maintaining. I can use it a little bit more often just because when you're on a single target boss that doesn't push you around and just be a general jerk, it's pretty easy, but your blinding speed plus your restraint is relatively easy to proc with the... Yeah, it is the crashing wave set. I actually couldn't remember what it was for some reason. And then I'm probably just going to get a bunch of random junk. I did get shenlongs. Let's ID this. I always enjoy IDing stuff, whether it's in anything, basically. Something like this, it's actually pretty good if you don't have another one. Yeah. Okay. I do actually still pick everything up because I run a lot. I run relatively low on almost all materials. I haven't leveled up many of my gems outside of the ones I'm using in these two. Oh wait, no, this Bane of the Powerful is just a random Bane of the Powerful. I don't even know why that was on me. Oh, my other one's on my Yuliana's monk for speed farming. The only other thing I wanted to mention was I ended up using 2 all-res gems because I noticed I was dying far more than I should be. At least that's what I thought. Oh, never mind. I thought I didn't grab one of the legendaries. I think I did. So I ended up using that to help mitigate a bit of the damage I was taking. Because the longer I'm able to stand still and do damage, the more damage I end up doing, so... And then the last thing I'll go over is the Paragons, because I do have everything maxed out. So one of the things that a lot of people have been going for is they do get the movement speed on their boots. On my core, I don't have any extra movement speed because for the most part I'm specifically moving with Dashing Strike. But what you want to be getting almost all the time is you want to get that 25% movement speed. You always want this 50 max spirit. This is like 50 max spirit for the Shenlong setup is significantly better than Dex. Because it's 50 times 1.5%, because that's how much damage that the set gives you. So then in here, I think in terms of stat priority, you're probably going to want to go attack speed and then the critical hit damage. I'm running this 10% CDR so I can help maintain my Breath of Heaven a little bit more often, and then obviously critical hit chance is the last one. So for this one, I believe it's pretty standard for this. It's resist all, and then life, and then armor, and then life regen. For this, you don't actually want to typically be running this if you're having a lot of trouble with lag. So what a lot of people have been doing if they're lagging a lot, if they're having trouble in 4-mans, is they take their points out and they just dump it into resource, and then gold fine, and they just leave it where it is. Because these two things, like area damage and life on hit, are the two primary reasons that people lag a lot. And unfortunately, Shenlongs uses one of the two, and they do benefit from the area damage. So, but all I had to say for you guys today. Later on in the probably a couple days from now, I'm not quite sure how often I plan to upload again, just because I do work long days and stuff like that. I just got home actually not long ago. I ate my food while I was trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with my computer, but I do plan to bring you guys. There's a speed farming build for you, Leonas, I want to bring you. It's very, very efficient. It's a lot of fun too. Outside of that, oh, I do have my Crusader as well. This class is pretty fun, but I don't like starter stepping that much. So, and I do have a new project that I want to bring out. It'll touch base a little bit about my interests outside of gaming, and it'll talk a little bit about what I enjoy listening to, and yeah, just generally just me. I'll be talking to you guys. I'll be exploring a lot of cool subjects. And until next time, I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions, any comments, any concerns, anything for a future video, go ahead and ask me, because I do plan to bring out more Hearthstone and Heroes and whatever other games I may be playing at the time. But until then, thanks again.